Welcome to the Soul of Medicine. Welcome, everybody, to another inspiring episode of Soul of Medicine. Today, we're joined by Chip Gilmour, a truly unique voice in the world of holistic health and wellness. With nearly 2 decades of experience in pastoral ministry, Chip has always had a deep passion for caring for the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. This calling led him to pursue a degree in naturopathy and open BRAS Thermography in Louisville, Kentucky, alongside his wife, Heather. BRAS Thermography is more than just a business. It's a mission to empower individuals with the knowledge and tools they need to prevent disease and achieve vibrant health. Using cutting-edge, non-invasive thermography, Chip and his team provide early detection and insights that conventional medicine often can't match. Chip's approach is rooted in his belief that our bodies have an incredible capacity for healing when given the right support and care. He works closely with each patient to identify root causes of imbalance and develop personalized wellness strategies that nurture body, mind, and spirit. But what makes BRAS Thermography even more special is that family touch. So in this powerful conversation, Chip will share how his background in ministry informs his approach to health, the ways thermography is revolutionizing early detection and prevention, and inspiring stories of transformation through holistic wellness. He'll offer as practical wisdom on how we all can take steps to nurture our own well-being and build resilience in these challenging times. So let's dive in, explore the Soul of Medicine with Chip Gilmour, a true champion of holistic healing and wellness. Hi, Chip. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. And I appreciate that intro. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, totally. Well, you're all that. You're very low key whenever you come to the office and do the thermography, particularly for our patients. And it's been such an amazing tool of just reflection of how health is for them, early detection. I love it. And so thank you for offering this service.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was trying to think today how I'm pretty sure I started coming to Owensboro and even before that was Henderson when you hosted up there. I was trying to think how long ago that was. 8 years ago?
I think maybe so. Yeah,
it's been a while.
It's been a while. And it's still just trying to, I remember thermography back then, and I know a lot of people are starting to get more interested in it, and we definitely recommend it as a mode of detection and prevention as far as overall care, breast care, and all of that. So, yeah. So can you share with us your background, particularly with pastoral ministry, and how that led you to pursue a career in natural health and wellness?
Yeah. So I pastored a church, a couple hundred people for 14 years. I was an associate at some other churches, larger churches. But a few years into that, we had a couple things happen. I mean, number one, there's a chapter in the Bible, James chapter 5, that talks about if anyone is sick, have the elders pray over them and anoint them with the oil. And as they confess their sins, they will be healed, is what it says. So one day I stood in front of the church and I was just like, well, we've never done this before, but it's in there, so we're going to just do this today. The first lady that came forward had been struggling with severe depression. She was probably around 30 at the time, had been struggling for 10 years, cutting herself, just all that kind of stuff. She was a wife, mother of 3 kids. And so we did that, and she was healed instantly, delivered from her depression. And so we just were like, okay, that was pretty amazing. And we kept doing that. And we have a whole binder full of people healed. I mean, we had some people that were healed of cancer that went in, were cut open, the cancer was gone, eating disorders, different things. I've always had kind of a passion for healing, for people to be in wellness. And then also in those early years, we have 6 children. Our 3rd son was vaccine injured. He really developed within a few weeks of his vaccines that he had around 6 months old. He developed eczema covering probably 80% of his body, and he just became allergic to every single thing in the house, both environmental, food, the dog. We had to get rid of our dog. So that was our first foray into natural health. We worked with a naturopath. She was from California. Got into some things that we'd never heard of before that were just very different. But primarily, it was a lot of diet, detoxing, supplementing. And then for myself personally, after we started working with him, I was around 27 at the time, 28. And I had struggled with chronic fatigue, chronic headaches, and I was getting sick all the time. And so for me, I went from eating the standard American diet, McDonald's, pizza, Cokes, just the whole 9 yards. And I'd get off of white sugar, and then I'd feel a little bit better, but then I could start feeling like white flour, and I would get off of that. And then I'd go from regular Cokes to Diet Cokes. And initially there was some benefit. Then I would start feeling bad from the Diet Cokes. So anyways, it was a year-long process that culminated with about a 4-week cleanse, at the end of which I had so much energy, I couldn't even believe it. I was sleeping, and I went from sleeping like 9 to 10 hours a night to sleeping 7 and feeling amazing. That was kind of the early years of just understanding the spiritual side of things as well as the physical, and just seeing healing take place in a number of different ways.
Well, that was really fascinating, actually. And I do have a question. So when we're talking about the spiritual, do people have to have a particular belief that it's going to work spiritually? What if they had particular doubts that it could really work, like spiritual medicine could work? Does that get in the way, or have you had any experiences with that?
So just looking at different belief systems, I'm all in on Christianity. I believe Jesus was raised from the dead. I honor other people and their faith. I know everybody's on their journey, but I have just seen some different things on a spiritual level. Like, it's not just our thought life, but the Bible talks about evil spirits and Jesus casting demons out. My son was just in Africa a couple months ago, and there was a young man. This was in Uganda. He started getting so violent, they literally had to bind him with ropes. This entity was speaking to them in English. It took them about 5 hours to cast it out, but once they got it out, it was speaking to the kid could not speak English. It was just this entity inside of him. So sometimes people have traumatic experiences or things that happen, and it opens the door for things to come in. So that has just been a part of my journey. And that's just my world. That's what I live and walk in.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. And I guess the reason I kind of came with that question is a lot of times when we look at like mind-body medicine, when we're looking in like the subconscious, the psychosomatic, a lot of times the people have to have a belief that their subconscious can actually manifest an illness. So this is kind of interesting because when we're talking on the spiritual realm, it's almost like their conscious doesn't have to be part of, it's like it happened. So like when you just said the patient in that case in Uganda, it's not like he signed on to say, yeah, I think I have a spirit in me. I think I have, right? I mean,
yes.
Okay.
He was not aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's fascinating. Thank you. Yeah.
I have had some other clients that I've prayed over and I've seen instant healing. There's a urine and saliva test that I do, and one lady had Sjogren's, which she couldn't give me the saliva. I just shared, the message of Jesus with her in about 2 minutes. She wasn't open to it at all. And then I prayed over her, and a week later she came back and gave me, she's the only person that's ever filled the little cup that I use to the top with saliva. So sometimes it works that way. Other times it doesn't. Other times, people have to take responsibility for their diet, hydration, what I call the wellness 10 commandments. So there's a lot of different ways that I've seen people on the path to healing.
It sounds like there's a lot of intention. The 2 stories that you started out in the church and you also being this clear conduit for that to happen. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I would say that's true. Definitely some intentionality, and try to be faithful to what I believe. And, both physical, emotional, spiritual. So it really does encompass all of the above.
That's amazing. So, Chip, for listeners who may not be familiar, can you explain your other business, your thermography, and how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2010, I had been studying natural health for probably over 10 years at that point, and reading a lot of different articles about things. And I just came across an article. It was actually Dr. Mercola. This probably would have been about like 2006. And read about it, and I was like, this is really interesting. Somebody should bring this to Louisville. And so around 2010, we decided just to go for it. So we connected with a company. It's a group of medical doctors that read and interpret thermal imaging. We bought the equipment and we opened a little shop in Louisville. That was kind of that was just it. It was like, this is non-invasive. It shows you where you have inflammation. I mean, I can get into the, benefits of it here in a second, but that was really just it. I mean, it was just looking at and thinking this was amazing. We need that here. And nobody else was doing it, so we did it.
Awesome. So how would you say the thermography differs from other types of imaging like mammography, ultrasound?
Thermography is based on infrared detection. It's military technology like night vision, and it works off of the infrared coming off of our bodies. But they've refined this camera to detect temperature differences in the body to hundredths of a degree. So one of the major benefits of it is that it's 100% non-invasive. There's nothing there's no radiation or anything that shoots out at you. It's only reading what's coming off of your body. And the experience is no different than getting your picture taken. So I do the thermography for men. My wife, like when we do mobile thermography, she does the thermography for women. So it shows you where you have inflammation, whereas mammography or ultrasound are not looking at inflammation, they're looking at structure. So they're differing technologies. They can actually complement each other in a lot of ways. I'm not a huge fan of mammography. I mean, just reading some of the different things that I've looked at over the years, that you read some things that mammography the radiation can actually cause a certain amount of breast cancers. I try not to be alarmist with people, so I don't really talk about that much, but that is a factor. In Europe, I believe they have stopped doing mammography in several countries because the actual benefit is low. It generates a lot of false positives. So with thermography, again, another benefit is earlier detection. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, they're always talking about early detection. But what people don't realize is that a breast cancer has been growing for 8 to 10 years before a mammogram can detect it. That 8 to 10 years gets to about 4 billion cells and is about 1 centimeter in size, and that's when it can be detected. So with thermography, it's not waiting for something to get to a particular size. It's just looking at inflammation. So you can look at overall breast health several years before a mammogram can detect a problem. So it looks at overall inflammation pattern as well as change over time. And it can see, for example, estrogen dominance will show up sometimes. Fibrocystic breasts have a very particular pattern. And we have had some clients, we try to educate women on breast health. And we have some very basic suggestions like iodine loading, dry brushing, and some other, things for breast health, where we have seen ladies reverse fibrocystic as well as painful lumpy breasts to where in 3 months it's completely reversed. So that's the biggest thing is thermography it shows you where you have inflammation. It detects change over time and it can find things earlier. There are some breast cancers that don't show inflammation. And maybe if there's 8 women that have breast cancer, maybe one of those will not show any inflammation. So that has been something frustrating over the years. You have some ladies that faithfully get the thermography, and maybe once a year we've seen somebody where they've had a breast cancer where the thermography didn't pick it up. But we've also found a lot of stuff, very interesting things. about a year and a half ago, we had a lady that just did a routine full body imaging, and the thermography suggested there was some hot spots on her thyroid. So she had those spots biopsied, and they detected a very fast-growing form of cancer. And so they caught it very early, and she's very evangelistic about thermography, and she's really helping us get the word out. So, and the other thing that we do in our office is this past March, we added ultrasound. And the reason that we did that, a lot of ladies that get a suspicious mammogram, they're sent for an ultrasound. Well, our clients really a lot of them don't want to do the mammography unless it's absolutely necessary. But they could not, at least in Louisville, you could not get an ultrasound without having the mammogram first. So we added it, and we just set up as a private membership, which is just a matter of signing a form when you come in. And so now we have the combination of thermography and ultrasound, which is a very powerful combination.
That's awesome. So are you saying that is the ultrasound used diagnostically if there's something suspicious on the thermogram, or you're doing them together?
All of the above. Ultrasound is not as effective as a general screening. But it's more effective in looking at a lump. So if you have something, and even if the thermogram says there's nothing going on there and there's no change over time, I would still recommend doing the ultrasound because there is a structure there. Especially if there's something palpable, you feel a lump, I would definitely recommend doing both. So, and we are working with medical doctors, radiologists that are reading and interpreting, and, they're able to see a much better what the structure actually looks like, if it's likely benign or likely malignant.
So I think this is really important. So I just wanted to go back. So I believe I first heard of thermography around 2006. I was in residency about that time. And, it was interesting because ACOG, there was all this stuff going on with American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology on when we should be screening women, right? And so the whole thing was like, should we be screening at 40 when they're low risk? And are we posing these women, are we putting more risk on them by irradiating them every year, plus the whole squishing process and potentially seeding a lesion? I mean, that was at the time they weren't even recommending like self-exams or whatever, and I was like, this is a hot mess. Like what? So, I believe the time I had graduated from residency, and my recommendation is, it wasn't at 40. It's like 50 high risk. I actually do, thermography if low risk at 50. What are you following now as far as your recommendation? I don't even know what ACOG is actually recommending at this point, but what have you found in your experience to be a good age to start screening?
With thermography, of course, it's safe. You're not worried about radiation. One of the reasons, so there were some major studies following like 10,000 women over a 20-year period, and they did, there's some national organizations that changed the recommendation for mammography to start at 50 and do it every other year until 70. That's where they saw the benefit. So for younger women, the breast tissue is more dense, and therefore mammography is less effective. It's like you describe it as looking for a polar bear in a snowstorm. So thermography is not limited by breast density. It's very different. It's reading what's coming off of your body. So it's not trying to see through. So I try, since I'm not a medical doctor, I try to avoid looking like I'm giving recommendations, but I do just try to inform people about what the literature is saying and help them make an informed decision. So I try to avoid saying, well, you should do this or this. I just try to say, well, this is what the literature is saying. These are your options. You need to do what you feel most comfortable with. There's women in their 30s that are being told to come back and get a mammogram every 6 months. And the mammogram says, well, we think we see something. Well, they're getting so much radiation that it almost, again, one study I saw, if you had something like, I can't remember if it was 40 or 60, it was a high number of mammograms in your lifetime, maybe 40, you will get breast cancer. So I'm not an advocate for overexposure or starting too early. For sure, people in a high risk, you can do thermography, ultrasound, and self-exam, even a clinical breast exam, if the breast tissue is too dense, which is typically, if you haven't gone through menopause, it typically is more dense.
Okay. So what I recommend, yes, is starting. There's a lot around this. It's particularly even how the women feel. Like I had this one patient in residency. She was about 35. For some reason, or maybe she was 40, and she had a screening mammography at six months prior, and it was clean. And she came to me. She's like, you know what? I think I want another mammography. I'm like, well, why? You just had one 6 months ago, and you're low risk. And she's like, I don't know. I just need it. It was positive, And so from that, I will never forget that story as a resident. And I was like, I will always listen. That's the primary thing. It's like, do you feel that you need it? Is there something that's telling you to get it? I don't know. It's like intuition. I don't know what you want to call it, but that inner knowing, I always listen to that. I think people know their bodies better than I do. So it was a little out of the norm. That what was it going to be if she, it's just maybe insurance wasn't going to cover it, but she had some intuition around that. So, so I listened to that, and I do ask. I'm like, well, do you feel like you need one now? Most of them say yes. It would put my fears to rest around this, or no, I don't think I need it. So I think that is a major driving force. With recommending, like you said, that there's general kinds of things. And correct me if I'm wrong. This is my spiel with mammography. I love it personally, and I have had my thermograms done with you all. But it's and this always comes up around October with Health Awareness Month. But it's great for women who have dense breast tissue, even implants. The whole idea of detecting heat, this neovascularization is something that would be a precursor to even that calcification that would be picked up on the mammogram. So this predates that way ahead of time, right? By the time that calcification starts to show up on the mammogram, it's a little bit too late. Or stuff has already been brewing there for quite a while, like you said, almost 10 years. So I love that. Plus it get, that whole compression situation that's taken out also. So it's a no-brainer to me for women to get this. I have a lot of my patients too go ahead and get the full body scan as well, where they can see those spots of inflammation. And it really does. It's this nice feedback of like, I think I have inflammation. It's like, no, your whole scan is red, or, it's lighting up like a light bulb. So let's address this. Now it's this nice tangible way of seeing actually, where inflammation actually is in the body. So I love it for all of those reasons. So yeah. Rob, were you going to say anything? Or Chip, did you want to correct me on any of that?
No. Yeah, I think your thoughts are great. And thermography is also called functional imaging. It shows you where there's dysfunction or things are functioning properly. So sometimes you pay attention to cold spots. For example, with the thyroid, it can just look completely blue over the thyroid, and that typically reflects hypothyroid. We had a colon issue where one of our clients had a prolapse which is when it sags, and then their colon twisted, and they couldn't go to the bathroom, but it showed like this black cold spot right where the twist was. Or you might see heat inflammation over the liver. You can also see, for example, with the hands, diabetes shows up in the hands very well. It looks like someone's wearing a red glove. And or other times, you can tell things about nerve issues or circulation by looking at cold areas. With the full body does provide very interesting information.
I feel that this is different. When people pan scan, we're like, they're going to go pan scan themselves and kind of look for things that, with the CTs or the MRIs in the mall or something. And it's like, please don't go do that. So I think this is a little bit different to me anyway, because because you can look at the body and sort of put things together of what things may be brewing versus like, there's a lesion there, or there's a lesion there, or there's something there, or should I pursue that, in the heart or whatever. So it feels a little bit more random the other way. Like you're saying, it's more functional because it could kind of tell a story.
And yeah, you see some interesting things, and I don't always know the explanation for it, but sometimes people will have inflammation down one side of their body. The right side of the face, for example, and then the right breast, and the lymphatics on the right side and all the way down the leg. And it's like, okay, what is going on your right side? And sometimes it's just, it's a root canal tooth that's causing stuff to just go all the way down because it's gotten infected and it's gone undetected for a long time. So it does tell a story. That's a good way to put it.
I actually love your background in naturopathy because I see you thinking of the whole process from the story and how the lymphatics could be related and the other things in there versus going in to get scanned randomly at the mall. Do they still do that? I just thought that was so weird without any clinical thinking or process of why we're getting that. And it freaks the patient out. And then they throw the scans at me to interpret them. And I'm just like, come on.
Sometimes, the thermography, sometimes people look at it and they see that red on there and they're like, oh my gosh, what is that? Am I dying? It's important to understand that everybody has inflammation somewhere. But it's, we've seen people completely clear up their lymphatics, but they didn't know there was a problem until they did their thermography. So, and then you're just like, okay, let's support the liver. Let's make sure you're hydrating properly. Let's do something like rebounding or dry brushing or some breast massage techniques. And let's get that lymphatics moving. And we've seen people go from, lots of inflammation under the arm to their armpit looking blue. Cool. So it's just it can be a motivation to say, okay, let's get going before any of this becomes something serious.
I got a question, Chip, and this is in regards to trends. So over the last 4 years, right? I mean, we have a new terrain as far as medical care going on because of things that are popping up, cardiovascular issues, turbo cancers, neurological issues, like things up hundreds and thousands of percents. And it could be due to the COVID infection, vaccination, whatever you want to cause it, but it's for real. Now, are you seeing, because we see these trends in different areas of medicine and, we'll see someone come in with certain symptomology and you start wondering, are you seeing trends that come off in the thermography, whether it's a whole body scan or however it might present itself?
Yeah, I haven't documented this, but I would say since probably 2021, we've seen a lot more of our scans coming back with higher risk. Instead of a scale 1 to 5, they just say normal limits, low risk, some risk, high risk, or they call it increased risk. So it's a scale of how, like with breast issues, how scary it looks, basically. And we've seen a lot more come in that middle to high range in the last 3 years. I mean, it's significantly higher. Like if we did 100 thermograms in 2015, seemed like maybe 10 of them might come back saying some risk. Now it seems like 30-40% are. So there has been an uptick. I don't know what all you attribute that to, but certainly maybe some of these shots and things like that people are getting. We did have one lady that had symptoms of inflammatory breast cancer. And so she came in to do the thermogram and she's like, yeah, my breasts got red hot and they kind of turned orange and started flaking. And she said this happened last July. And she came in and like 6 months after that, she's like, it just happened a month ago again. And I was like, well, did you get the COVID shot? I hope it's okay to talk about this. And she just kind of looked up and she thought, oh, it happened both times within a month after she got a shot and then a booster. And then she had those inflammatory breast type symptoms. So what all is contributing? Not everybody that comes back, some risk is, you can attribute it to that, but I think that's certainly part of it.
And, even if we look at pure science or physiology, when we look at that, what are vaccines designed to do? They're designed to upregulate the immune system for a certain amount of time, which just very simply, we can say that's vaccine or non-vaccine. That can come off in an inflammatory pattern, but it's very interesting to see looking at a trends point of view. So thank you for that.
Chip, I ask my guests this, particularly those who are clinical or in the healing profession. If you had it your way, how would you use thermography in primary care? Or if you were to teach doctors and physicians and pharmacists, and, how would you put this into, the system of medicine, as something preventative or diagnostic, et cetera? What would be your ideal way to use this?
Anybody that's doing functional medicine, I think, which is getting very popular. Some of the doctors here in Louisville that are doing functional medicine are booked out like 6 months. It would make a lot of sense to me to do functional imaging. Doing a periodic full body thermogram, even in some younger people in their 20s or 30s, I don't think it's something, especially at that age, that you need to do every year. But it can be a motivation to start practicing healthier diet, proper hydration, proper exercise. I mean, just the different things, and to see where the problems are going to be 10 years from now. So it really can help with some prevention and that type of thing. Now whether conventional medical tends to view it as a threat or they like to say it's not effective, it's not perfect, but it is effective. And because it's not invasive, it adds no risk to anything. It's just showing you where you have inflammation, and inflammation can show you where you have problems. So I think it can be very helpful as just a general screening periodically for people to see and give them things to work on and work towards.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. So could you go through the process? So somebody makes an appointment in Louisville. You also have mobile thermography, which you come to Owensboro often, my office, and I believe another place, maybe several. So could you go through the process for a patient who was interested in doing this? When they do it, follow up, how often you recommend if things look good on the thermogram?
We try to make the process very comfortable. I don't do thermograms for women. My wife does. If you come to Louisville, we have another thermographer in Louisville that does it. But we have a private room. You do have to undress any areas that are being imaged. But again, we try to make it comfortable so the thermographer will typically have their back to you. You'll sit on a stool that rotates. They might have to adjust the camera height and things like that. Like if you go from doing breast to abdomen to the legs, you do have to move around a bit into different positions. But it's very quick. We capture the images from the camera to the computer. We submit those securely online, and then we have medical doctors that read and interpret, and they create a report that we then email to our clients. It has all the images on there. And then if they have a question about the report, they will typically call me. I'll go through and make sure they understand what it says, make some general recommendation based on what they're seeing. Do they need to follow up somehow, do another test? Things like that. And certainly if they're working with a practitioner, like if, one of your clients, we certainly would want them to bring that to you and, to have that additional information. But it's a very simple process. A breast imaging takes about 15 minutes. The half body, which would be the abdomen, the breast, and the head and neck, takes 20 minutes, and a full body takes 30 minutes. It's very quick. It's very obviously pain-free and easy. When you start doing breast thermography, they recommend doing the initial one and a second one 90 days later. They recommend that because breast cancer cells double every 90 days, and they're looking for subtle changes in inflammation. From the time of that second one, assuming that nothing's changed, then they just recommend doing it yearly from that second one.
So if there were something that showed up, what is the process there?
We ask them, if there are questions, to call us or to talk with your practitioner. If they call us and there's some concern, typically on the reports, it will say recommend clinical correlation. So at that point, we try to say, here's your options. If you want to do the mammography, that would be another way to look at it. If you don't want to do the mammography, you could do a clinical breast exam. You could also do ultrasound. We just try to educate them on their options and encourage them to take some steps based on what they're seeing.
That's amazing. And there's just this whole piece right before that mammogram. So much that could be done, before that. So that's really amazing. So how can our listeners find you, get in contact with you, book with you?
So if you want to look at our website, BRAS Louisville, that's BRAS, Louisville.com. No, we don't sell lingerie. The BRAS stands for Breast Research Awareness and Support. Yes, we do get a couple calls a year, not as frequent, but they ask us if we do bra fitting. We do not do that either. We actually did there was a clothing line called Ruby Ribbon that eliminated the bra. Yeah, when we first started, I put bras on the back of my car. We have 6 kids, and my boys would not get in my car with me. But you can go to our website. It's braslouisville.com. You can call us 502-895-1224. We have mobile sites. We go to Evansville, Owensboro, Bowling Green, Elizabethtown, Jasper, Corydon. So quite a few different places. So we try to make it convenient. If we have somebody that's driving 2 hours to get to Louisville, we just say, look, get a few people together, we'll come to you.
Love that. So any other questions that you have?
One quick thing, let's touch upon it. What do you do for men?
For men, yeah, we do the full body imaging. We actually fly to Dallas twice a year. And there was a man down there that came in who thought he had no health problems. His thermogram showed some heart issues, liver issues, and prostate issues. He called me and he was like, at the end of the conversation, he's like, so you're saying I should probably look into my health a little bit? And I was like, yes. Yeah, it's the same thing. It can be a motivational tool to get going and not wait around for something to really be seriously wrong, like practice prevention. So yeah, I do the full body imaging for men as well.
I think that's a great tool for men who don't want to get their blood work. Like, come on, honey, let's get your picture. Let's get your picture at Chip's place.
Or not to mention a prostate exam.
Oh, yes. All of the above. I hate needles, and I'm one of those people that gets very faint just talking about needles. Yes, a baby step for some men.
It's like, we'll just check your aura just to see how big your heart chakra is. I love it. It's great. Oh my gosh. Chip, that's so great. Thank you so much. I can't believe we've known each other for 8 years and we just had this conversation. But
well, thank you, Kurt. I appreciate you offering this, bringing us in. So we've got quite a few people in Owensboro now, and it's caught on, and people start to recommend it. So thanks for your support over the years.
Absolutely. And we'll tag you in this as well. And we may need to probably put another date up there. I know you were just at the office in September, so we'll need to book it out again. So
we like to come every 3 months because of that 90 days. So if somebody does an initial one, they can do the second one 3 months later. So, we can book something out in December.
Definitely. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Chip. That was really great.
Thanks so much, Chip.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about all this stuff. If they're working with a practitioner, like if, one of your clients, we certainly would want them to bring that to you and, to have that additional information. But it's a very simple process. A breast imaging takes about 15 minutes. The half body, which would be the abdomen, the breast, and the head and neck, takes 20 minutes, and a full body takes 30 minutes. It's very quick. It's very obviously pain-free and easy. When you start doing breast thermography, they recommend doing the initial one and a second one 90 days later. They recommend that because breast cancer cells double every 90 days, and they're looking for subtle changes in inflammation. From the time of that second one, assuming that nothing's changed, then they just recommend doing it yearly from that second one.
So if there were something that showed up, what is the process there?
We ask them, if there are questions, to call us or to talk with your practitioner. If they call us and there's some concern, typically on the reports, it will say recommend clinical correlation. So at that point, we try to say, here's your options. If you want to do the mammography, that would be another way to look at it. If you don't want to do the mammography, you could do a clinical breast exam. You could also do ultrasound. We just try to educate them on their options and encourage them to take some steps based on what they're seeing.
That's amazing. And there's just this whole piece right before that mammogram. So much that could be done, before that. So that's really amazing. So how can our listeners find you, get in contact with you, book with you?
So if you want to look at our website, BRAS Louisville, that's BRAS, Louisville.com. No, we don't sell lingerie. The BRAS stands for Breast Research Awareness and Support. Yes, we do get a couple calls a year, not as frequent, but they're ask us if we do bra fitting. We do not do that either. We actually did there was a clothing line called Ruby Ribbon that eliminated the bra. Yeah, when we first started, I put bras on the back of my car. We have 6 kids, and my boys would not get in my car with me. But you can go to our website. It's braslouisville.com. You can call us 502-895-1224. We have mobile sites. We go to Evansville, Owensboro, Bowling Green, Elizabethtown, Jasper, Corydon. So quite a few different places. So we try to make it convenient. If we have somebody that's driving 2 hours to get to Louisville, we just say, look, get a few people together. We'll come to you.
Love that. So any other questions that you have?
One quick thing. Let's touch upon it. What do you do for men?
For men, yeah, we do the full body imaging. We actually fly to Dallas twice a year. And there was a man down there that came in who thought he had no health problems. His thermogram showed some heart issues, liver issues, and prostate issues. He called me and he was like, at the end of the conversation, he's like, so you're saying I should probably look into my health a little bit? And I was like, yes. Yeah, it's the same thing. It can be a motivational tool to get going and not wait around for something to really be seriously wrong, like practice prevention. So, yeah, I do the full body imaging for men as well.
I think that's a great tool for men who don't want to get their blood work. Like, come on, honey, let's get your picture. Let's get your picture at Chip's place.
Or not to mention a prostate exam.
Oh, yes. All of the above. I hate needles, and I'm one of those people that gets very faint just talking about needles. Yes, a baby step for some men.
It's like, we'll just check your aura just to see how big your heart chakra is. I love it. It's great. Oh my gosh. Chip, that's so great. Thank you so much. I can't believe we've known each other for 8 years and we just had this conversation. But
well, thank you, Kurt. I appreciate you offering this, bringing us in. So we've got quite a few people in Owensboro now, and it's caught on, and people start to recommend it. So thanks for your support over the years.
Absolutely. And we'll tag you in this as well. And we may need to probably put another date up there. I know you were just at the office in September, so we'll need to book it out again. So
we like to come every 3 months because of that 90 days. So if somebody does an initial one, they can do the second one 3 months later. So, we can book something out in December.
Definitely. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Chip. That was really
Thanks
great.
Thanks so much, Chip.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about all this stuff.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Soul of Medicine podcast, where science meets soul for whole health healing. Are you ready to reclaim your energy, vitality, and soul purpose? Then feel free to head to our website at kcorpusmd.com and schedule an appointment for your root cause review.